So we all know that point deductions could end up having a massive influence on the final championship standings this season. And what I've gone ahead and done for today's video is I've worked out what the final championship table would look like if each championship club was to match the result of their remaining games with the result of the previous reverse fixture. And on top of that, I've then gone ahead and applied the potential point deductions this season. The one to Wigan that's already been confirmed and the 6-point deduction to Reading as well. And it makes for some quite interesting reading. It also gives us an idea of how tough each side's fixture running is for the remainder of the season, judging off how many points they picked up against those sides previously in the season. But if you do want to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and without any further ado, let's jump in. So starting out at the bottom of the table, we do have Wigan Athletic. Having been given their 3-point deduction, Wigan would finish the season on 39 points. So not accounting for that deduction, they pick up 41 points, an extra 8 points based on the reverse fixture results earlier on in this season of their remaining matches. The bottom of the table is going to be incredibly close, and as we do go up these sides, we'll realise just how close that gap is expected to be. Of the remaining matches that Blackpool have left for the season, they didn't fare great in them, only picking up an extra 5 points. The only win they picked up of their remaining matches they've got to go earlier on in the season was against my side, North End, typically enough. But yeah, an extra 5 points would put them on 40 points and wouldn't be enough for survival. And then also picking up just 5 points and being relegated, we then have Huddersfield finishing the season on 41 points with a goal difference of -28. So as things stand, that is the bottom 3 in real life, and that would be the 3 going down if each of those clubs were to match the results of the reverse fixtures with the games that they've got left to play. But things would be incredibly close by the fact that Rotherham would only pick up an extra 2 points. Of the games that Rotherham have still got to play this season, they really didn't fare well in any of them in the reverse fixtures, not beating any of the sides who they've still got to play, only picking up 2 points in total, which would be enough for survival in this instance, but in real life I don't think 42 points will keep you up. We mentioned the barrier for survival this season is probably going to be high 40s, maybe touching on around 50 points, and that's where Cardiff are projected to be at the moment if they match the results of the reverse fixtures. Picking up an extra 9 points for the remainder of the season would see them finishing the year on 48, and you'd imagine that'll be around about enough to avoid the drop. Coming in 19th place, we then have Reading. Now, I've put a star next to Reading's name as I have deducted 6 points from their end of season finish. As of recording right now, a point deduction for Reading hasn't been officially confirmed, but those are the rumblings, and that could come true over these next few days and weeks. So with that -6 points applied to them, they still finish the season on 52 points if they were to match the results of their previous fixtures. Reading actually fared really well in the games they've got to play earlier on in the season, picking up an extra 13 points in those matches. Another side, QPR, who have been on a massive slide in 2023, and I think their fan base would bite your hands off right now to finish on 53 points and 18th in the league with a quite comfortable league finish in the end, picking up an extra 11 points from their remaining fixtures. Now, what this doesn't take into consideration is form and things like that. When QPR played a lot of these, fixtures they've still got to play earlier on in the season, Beale was in charge and they were absolutely flying in the league. That's not the case anymore, and I mean, I'd be surprised if they pick up an extra 11 points, I have to say. Hull didn't fare great in their remaining fixtures based on the reverse games, and actually looking over their fixture list for the remainder of the season, they've still got some really quite tricky games to come up, so they'll be, happy that they're sitting content in mid-table at the moment. Hull still got games to come against the likes of Millwall, Blackburn, Middlesbrough, Watford, Luton, Sunderland. It's not an easy run-in that Hull have, at the end of the season. On top of that as well, Bristol City still have some quite tricky matches to come with games against the likes of Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, Burnley and Watford, and ultimately, based on the results of the reverse fixtures, Bristol City would only pick up an extra 5 points this season from their remaining matches, finishing 16th in the league. I think considering how inconsistent Birmingham have been in the second half of the season, they'd really be quite content with a 15th placed finish in the end, picking up an extra 10 points to finish on 55 come the end of the season. This portion of the table is all really quite congested, and anyone who is managing to pick up sort of double points from this point onwards is going ahead and quite bumping themselves up the league, and I think that Blues fans would definitely take that. Obviously, by doing this type of video, it doesn't factor in a team's improvement over the course of a season. We've definitely seen that with Stoke recently, as it seems like Alex Neil has stumbled upon a winning formula. Based on the reverse fixtures of their remaining matches, they'd only pick up an extra 8 points this season, but dare I say it, with the way they're going at the moment, I think they'll pick up more points than that. Swansea haven't been that convincing in 2023, but they did leave things on a positive note before the international break, and maybe that'll be a sign of things to come for the remainder of the season. This has them picking up an extra 12 points and finishing the season on 58, which I think will be a decent finish. You know, all things considered, if Swansea do manage to turn things around in these final few matches, but yeah, dare I say it, I think there'll be a bit more inconsistency with Swansea still. Based on these calculations, Sunderland pretty much stay where they are. They drop down one place and finish in 12th if they were to match the results of their reverse fixtures, picking up 9 points for the remainder of the season and finishing on 62 points. Just feels as if they've left themselves with a bit too much to do to get back into the playoff picture, but in terms of how first seasons go back up in the Championship, I think that would represent a really solid year for Sunderland that they can definitely build on next year. Same can pretty much be said with North End as well. Not too much movement is expected with us. If we were to match our results in the reverse fixtures, we'd finish 11th this season, which is where we've been sort of accustomed to finishing over these last few years, picking up an extra 10 points and finishing the season on 63. And I think given some of the turbulence that we've had over this year, that would represent a solid finish at the end of the day. This is where things get interesting though, because I think anyone from 10th upwards stands a realistic chance of finishing in the playoffs this season. And in 10th place, based on this, it would be Norwich finishing the season on 69 points. Now, they do have some really quite tough fixtures coming up, and I think that whether or not Norwich do make it into the top 6 could be decided in those first couple of weeks we get back from the international break, as they've got games against the likes of Sheffield United, Blackburn and Middlesbrough as part of their first 4 games back from that international break. And if they don't come out of those games with a healthy points return, it may be lights out for Norwich at that point in terms of a top 6 chase. Watford have struggled to nail down some consistency all season, and even since Wilder's come in there, it's been a little bit patchy, as it has been all season. But going off their fixtures, I think they've got a slightly easier running than Norwich do, and if they were to match their previous results, they pick up an extra 15 points and finish on 70 points, but that wouldn't be enough for a top 6 finish. Another big call in here would be West Brom finishing in 8th place, picking up an extra 16 points and finishing on 71, but that also not being enough to secure them a top 6 finish come the end of the season. What's held West Brom back was how slow they started the season under Bruce, and they've been playing catch up ever since. An extra 16 points and 71 on the board would represent a solid season, but given the threshold of what we're expecting it's going to take to get into the top 6, I don't think that'll cut it. A big call after that would then be Millwall missing out on the top 6. This has got them to pick up an extra 13 points based on the reverse fixture results, finishing on 73, but just missing out by the skin of their teeth on a playoff finish. Millwall do have some quite tricky matches when they do return to action. They've got back-to-back games against West Brom and Luton immediately after the international break, and considering they lost their last game against Huddersfield in quite a disappointing fashion before the break, those 2 matches are going to be crucial. And so is everything gearing up for Coventry to snatch a place in the top 6, because based on the results of the reverse fixtures, they pick up an extra 17 points in their remaining matches, finish on 74 points and just pip Millwall to that 6th spot. Going off their fixtures, they've still got some tough games to come. They've still got to play the likes of Watford, Blackburn. The last game of the season, they travel away to Middlesbrough, which could be a crunch match for both of those sides, but they're currently on the 2nd longest unbeaten run in the Championship, and momentum at the end of the season can catapult a side like Coventry into a top 6 place. So I mean, I certainly wouldn't rule that out. Blackburn Rovers have been a little bit of a mystery all season really in terms of where they've been in the league compared to the underlying numbers, but based on their reverse fixtures results, they would make it into the top 6, picking up an extra 15 points and finishing the season on 76 points, which would be a really respectable points return, it has to be said, considering where I and a lot of other people thought they might be at the start of the season. I think this has been a massive overachievement. Typical of Blackburn that they would make it into the top 6 whilst also having a negative goal difference. Also finishing on 76 points, we've then got Luton picking up an extra 12 and finishing in 4th place, just finishing above Blackburn on goal difference. The only thing that could potentially go against Luton is they do have a fairly tricky running to come. When they return to action, they've got back-to-back games against Watford and Millwall, two fellow promotion chasers, and then towards the end of the season they've still got to play the likes of Middlesbrough and Blackburn as well. So some tough games for Luton to come, but I certainly wouldn't rule them out of anything. Middlesbrough have been going really well under Michael Carrick, but based on the results of their reverse fixtures, they'd only pick up an extra 12 points this season and finish the year on 79 points. Now, I see them picking up more points than that based on the way they're playing at the moment, but their fixture running is looking quite tricky. Of their last 8 matches, 4 of them are up against fellow promotion chasers. They've still got the likes of Burnley, Norwich, Luton and Coventry to play, but with the way they're going at the moment, they're capable of going toe-to-toe with anyone in the league, so who knows. Watching this video, Sheffield United fans will probably breathe a sigh of relief, as this will no doubt give them a bit of a confidence booster, because based on the results of their previous reverse fixtures, of the games that Sheffield United have still got to play, they picked up 23 points from those games earlier on in the season, and if they were to do the same again, they'd finish the year on 93 points. Given the fixtures that Borough have compared to Sheffield United, I do think the Blades have a slight advantage in their favour, albeit the Blades probably aren't playing as consistently as Middlesbrough are at the moment, and even in some of their so-called easier matches, you never quite, get them unfolding that way at the end of the season, but that will surely come as a big booster to Sheffield United fans to know that maybe the running favours them a little bit. And of course, to then go on and win the championship, we've got Burnley, and based on the results of their reverse fixtures, they just miss out on matching Reading's 106 point record, finishing the season with 105 points, which still would be absolutely ridiculous. Finishing the season with a goal difference of plus 55 as well, which blows absolutely everyone else in the championship out of the water. I think we're all sort of in agreement that this will happen. It's just a case of how many points they'll actually accumulate and get on the board in the end, but anything in sort of the mid hundreds I wouldn't be too surprised at. But there we have it, guys. That is the championship table based on the reverse fixtures and how many extra points your side would pick up in their remaining matches if they were to match the results of those previous games. Be interested to know how different do you think the final table will shape up, and how much of an influence will point deductions actually have on this table by the end of the season. Apart from that though, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. If you did go in to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, do stick around and subscribe for some regular championship content, and I'll see you all in the next one.